until 1/3 of our panel joins us, we can use a few lighter moments, and if he still delays, then we'll get started. Since Chandrasekhar just said a couple of minutes, I think we can do that. Chandrasekhar, you know as the president of HMA, was my colleague at ITC, and I thought he was a good friend. And I said immediately yes when he requested me to join for this conclave, and we'll do that. And only after he told me that, okay, your session is going to be at 2 o'clock, then I realized that during his time at ITC, I must have given some tough assignment that has put me onto a tough assignment, which is, okay, Prem is also here.
Yes,
great. I haven't. The reason I say that is that it is supposed to be the third toughest task in one scale. The toughest, in fact, I don't know which order they are, but in a comparable kind of a scale, the toughest task is supposed to be trying to climb a wall which is leaning towards you. Just visualize a wall which is leaning towards you and you are climbing it, and it's a tough one, as you can realize. And an equally, if not tougher task is trying to kiss a partner who is leaning away from you. Now, instead of just a passive wall, you have an active partner who is leaning away, and therefore you have opposing force. Now, why this gets also classified in something similar is that in a post-lunch session, obviously, I can still see very awake faces, but quite often, what I notice is half asleep or almost ready to go to sleep. And therefore, trying and keeping the level of interest alive is a tougher task. And therefore, I said, once he told me that it's a 2 o'clock session, I said, oh my God, why is the reason you put me there? And subsequently, when he told me it's a panel, I said, yeah, that's great. In the morning when we started the session, when the Dean of ISB spoke about a few things, the very first thing he talked about was diversity, the importance of diversity in innovation. And small as our panel may look, this is as eclectic as possible with the diversity that hopefully we bring to the session. And so that's the first tick, so to say, from what you heard in the morning, how is getting implemented in this session. As we moved on in the sessions, we saw how innovations are occurring in the AI field. And we also heard about inspiration in the subsequent sessions, 2 sessions for that matter. Both Swamiji's session as well as Raj's session, the inspiration that can really permeate in the room. And hopefully by working on both of them in terms of how do we inspire as well as innovate, but potentially also looking at impact that we can also bring as the third dimension that you have in the theme for this event into our session just now. When we talk about inspiration as well as potentially impact, and we also heard from Swamiji about the imperatives the nation had faced at one point of time and what are those imperatives today. And that inspiration and the imperative that we have today will probably guide what is the nature of impact that we need to look at. For an inspiration, when we say we want to be a Viksit Bharat by the time we get to 100 years after our independence, we heard quite a bit about the pre-independence era in the morning. So if you now look at the next few years and say that, now how do you want to get to that Viksit Bharat? That's an area of impact that one must be able to make. And when it comes to the other impact is also on the imperatives. One of the big imperatives, this is again something that we heard in the Dean session this morning, is about inclusion. And in this context, inclusion is somewhat different. The whole inequality in the country is a big challenge. Viksit Bharat, we may get a per capita GDP or a total GDP at a certain level, but if it is not reasonably well distributed or fairly distributed, it's still a big challenge. We can't still call ourselves Viksit. And therefore, that's an area that we need to bother about. And the other big challenge is really, again, something that was spoken in the morning about the environment. That's a big imperative too, in terms of how we are consuming our natural resources, how the climate change is impacting everything that we do, and therefore how do we tackle that. So there are some of the broader areas in which one could look at impact. So with that larger HMA theme of inspire, innovate and impact, we jump into the session when we draw upon my fellow panelists to provide their wisdom, is the innovative strategies to drive transformational growth. Now, what is transformational growth that is different from growth in general? One of the things we also heard this morning in the immediate preceding session from Raj was the mathematical dimension of growth. Someone calculated very quickly and said that in 12 years, Zaggle grew 9,000 times. That's a exponential growth that one could see. So that's the mathematical dimension, and from 20%, 50%, 100% kind of growth annually, you can see in terms of what's the level of growth. That's one kind of a transformational growth. But if you go back to biology, which also we heard this morning, is transformation potentially of a different kind. Is a plant becoming a tree is one kind of a growth. Or a caterpillar becoming a butterfly is a different kind of a growth. That's a transformational growth. Now, how do we bring it to a professional, business, other kind of organizational context, national context, is a question that I would like to ask my panelists as the first trigger. So, Manisha, what does transformational growth mean for you, and how is it different from any other growth?
So, when I was told that I'm supposed to talk on this topic, the first image which came to my mind about transformational growth is caterpillar becoming butterfly, exactly as you said. So caterpillar becoming butterfly, I think, is the best analogy for transformational growth, which that's the easiest way I can explain it.
So how do we apply it to the business context is my...
Okay, how do you apply it to the business context? Now the thing is, one part is we know that this is the business I am in. Say, for example, say Bajaj Auto says that I am in the scooters business. That is how they see it. It's a scooters. And then one fine day or one innovation strategy kind of workshop, they decide, instead of looking at ourselves as a scooter business, we want to look at ourselves as a complete landscape of automobiles. And then they change the way they do, and at certain point they even let go of the scooters itself, and they say, okay, let's go only into motorcycles. And actually they disrupt their scooters business, they stop it and they move forward. That I call is a transformation, and very bold transformation, where you let go of the identity which in some sense you're born with, you let go of that, that is a caterpillar, and becoming a butterfly in a totally different scale and different way of working.
Yeah, so wonderful. So it's from a product-centric thought to a consumer need-centric is one trigger that we are seeing the transformation definition from Manisha as. Prem, what do you think is for your definition of transformational growth?
Is voice audible? Yes. So the space where we are working also, what we are seeing is till now the employment is cities. But the next, what we are looking at, the transformation, what is going to happen is creating the more employment at rural areas. It can be, tier 2, tier 3 kind of a cities. And the space where we are operating is Agri space, where we saw and everybody are dependent on the food, what we eat every day, the lunch, what you had, vegetables, food and everything. And the end farmer is also using traditional methods like 50 years old, 60 years old. And that actually technology adoption has not started, the digital transformation has not started in Agri space, which is starting now and from now. So what we see is all the people who have moved out from Agri space, 20 to 40 years age group, are coming back to agriculture and helping the existing farmers and creating better food, less pesticide food or retaining that the India as agricultural dependent country kind of a stuff. So what we see is drones I feel is the one of the start point where the adoption is happening at a rural area, where this 20 to 40 age group, it can be your polytechnic, ITI, Agri graduates who are in rural areas are getting adopted, and they seeing the actual, what we see IT employee in Hyderabad is getting 80,000, 50,000 a salary, right? Similar kind of they could able to earn, and transformation in them, and also helping the farmer and making him to do the farming is what we the change what we are seeing and what we're going to see in more often. So that's where we see, like, you have green revolution, rural revolution. We see that the technological adoption and the revolution in agriculture space, it just started. That's where we feel one of the critical, where India, how we had different kind of transformations have gone, that one of the next 5-10 years, that transformation of autonomous, transformation of adoption of a technology, and like we will be in someday after 5 years or something, before eating, we want to check where it has been grown. Is it optimal? Because like still, I see people of high-tech city, Gachibowli, if someone is eating leafy vegetables, where does it grow? It's grown on the banks of Musi towards your Bodupal, Upper. Once you go and see there, I don't think you'll never eat that leafy vegetable. So that's why I'm saying, like, people will become more conscious, more want to eat better, healthy kind of thing. And in the end, the value chain, everybody is going through that. They have to go through the transformation. There is no other option. Thank you.
So the other dimension of transformation we just then therefore heard is in terms of now looking at a macro need for the country, in terms of jobs are raising incomes of those people who are not earning enough, which goes back to the inequality point that I was talking about. Leveraging technology as a tool. Yeah. So there is the reverse flow of youth that Prem talked about is a significant transformation. Until some years ago, it was children of farmers not wanting to do agriculture anymore and moving out looking for jobs elsewhere because it was not remunerative, nor was there a dignity of labor, and it was a drudgery. Now you have a reverse flow where urban youth succeed in very different sets of fields Are people looking for those kind of roles which are aided by technology going back into agriculture, but in turn creating a multiplier impact in terms of how the incomes of the farmers can be raised? So I think that's another dimension of transformation that we heard. So I think we have a very interesting mix in terms of consumer-centric innovation to broaden business scope as one dimension that can deliver transformational growth, a very different kind of business today than what it was earlier, and a macro need which also leads to different kind of flow and a multiplier impact is another interesting way also to look at the transformational growth. And both have their own impact in their own ways. Now let's switch from this definition to looking at a few examples in terms of what are those impressive examples, either from your own work experience or from anything else that really impressed you, Manisha, and talk about a couple of examples where you say that, no, this kind of innovation really led to transformational growth, and there's something that we can take something away for all of us.
So typically in corporates, it is more of we go to the drawing board every year and we say, okay, this is what we should be doing. We look at our data, we look at competitor data, we look at all the macroeconomics data that we get. So, okay, this is what we will deliver. And because we also have to commit to the external stakeholders, we're very careful about what we are announcing. However, once I was supposed to attend one of the strategy meets and I missed my flight. I feel extremely stupid about it because you're not supposed to miss it. Also, not just about numbers and this thing, it is also about meeting people and lots of good conversation happen. And I was feeling very, 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 very sad about it. And I decided that, okay, I'm not going for the strategy meet. So it gives me 2-3 days of thinking and doing something which is really something that I won't usually do, because we typically are in that running from day to day, quarter to quarter, always having the calendar is always double booked, kind of. So we always have this excuse which we give to ourselves and everybody that I don't have time. And we're just running after something that we decided or somebody has told us to do. So but now this was my time to work for myself, whatever I wanted to do, and I wanted to be extraordinary in that, because it was also self-motivation and some guilt, all factors added to it. That is the year when we decided that we should take up something, at least for my unit, we said that we will not go by the standard growth that we decided, we will take 4x of that. And then the team, my next in line who were not going for the strategy meet, we all came together and decided on, okay, so complete supply chain. Supply chain, we are not ITC that we deliver something, but we have our own supply chain in the sense, okay, people we hire, the people we train, the business we get, and the kind of timeline that we have. So in that, considering, so it was a kind of a reverse this thing, that we decided that we want to 4x the typical growth that we have in this year. In this year, we should do 4x of what we did last year. And for that, we analyzed where are the inefficiencies, or what do we have to do to achieve that kind of extraordinary growth. So it was right from what kind of people we want to hire, and what kind of trainings will be needed for them, how do we get more clients, where will these clients come from, because we know our client acquisition cycle. So our repeat clients, the repeat business, how will we increase that, which are the pockets in it. So complete strategy was rebuilt, including disruption at some level, where we said that we will not be how do we acquire more customers. So for that we said, okay, we will not write test cases for everybody, create a repository and we'll reuse, which is not a great idea if we want to earn from writing something, right? We are reusing. But then that was our strategy for acquiring customers. So lots of such things were done, and we did phenomenal work that year. I felt that is something which whenever I look back, I feel that is a very transformative thing we did, because we did disruption, we did 4x growth, and if we would have gone with the flow, or we would have said that, okay, we are too busy to do any right brain thinking, it really wouldn't happen. So after that, when I was discussing, at the end of the year, I was talking to my manager and told him, remember I missed the strategy meet, and that's where this landed. So he said, may you miss more flights. So basically the thing is, may we not get involved in the routine and find time for ourselves and thinking little different. So the transformation. That's one experience that I had.
Yeah, so wonderful in terms of how that's been utilized. On the same analogy now, let's ask Prem, since he must miss the first couple of minutes, what is in store for us in terms of his innovative strategy?
Like everyone, I did my bachelor's. Like I did. Then, like everybody thinks that you'll get into a job and one fine day you'll do something. So being engineer, suddenly we started a film production house. So then the whole Marut came. We never thought we'll build a company, we'll make some technology. So it was a personal problem where I was complaining. I stayed this side of high-tech city, another side of 40-50 kilometers parents stay. 2012 to 2015, I've been complaining. Next to my parents' house, there is a lake. And almost for 5 years, they piled up 12-13 letters and brought it to GHMC Commission saying, "Arey, you are an educated guy, and why are you complaining? Better you move your parents to the place where you stay, where you feel safer." Then I saw what people do. They get into the lake till the neck level. They clear all the extraction. It can be a chicken extraction. It can be whatever the wet, dry waste, whatever you dump in the lakes there. And they keep oily kind of a layer. And by then I have run a bootstrap 10 years startup by then. Then I thought, okay, what they were doing, they were applying some oily kind of a liquid so that the larvae doesn't grow and it can control the mosquito. So from a problem solving that as a use case, by then I was trying to go to all different lakes and everything, and went back to the municipality and said, we have built some technology. You don't need to let anyone, because by then what we got is a lot of people who work there, they go through a lot of contagious diseases which cannot be cured by any of their RUKSRs or any of the hospitals, and people die and snake bites and a lot of stuff happens. So from 2017 to 2019, we did not register a company. We started using this technology. Then they've tried because a lot of people complain from high-tech city, Sherlingampalli, they do Twitter, right? So they said, okay, you have built something now, we want to use it. So when we use these drones in lakes, eradicating the water hyacinth or mosquito menace and everything, suddenly the entomology guy says, sir, 70% reduced. I said, I did not do anything. I'm using the same chemical what you were using it. Just that you were covering 1/3, I'm covering the entire lake in one go. Then we understood is none of the ground team wants to report anything alarming to any of the senior people. Then we said, okay, let us try in different places and don't pay us anything. We just wanted to see whether it is useful or not. By then, a lot of people started writing letter from Hyderabad or from Lingapalli or someone saying, what have you used in Miapur? My cousin said, this mosquito is reduced. Why can't you use in our way? Then it has spread. So it has become such a push. The GHMC is getting hundreds of letters. One day, Commissioner comes and asked me, saying, why are you allowing people to write letters to me? I said, sir, I don't have that much of network where from Lingampalli to LB Nagar, someone writes a letter saying that you want, and it has accumulated some 1,500 letters. That led them to adopt this technology. So then one fine day they say, there are 3,000 workers who are working for this. Already they have very bad name saying that you're removing people. And you're bringing some drone kind of a machine and you want to let them remove it. They said, as a government, we want to adopt it, but you have to convince these workers, if they don't have a problem, we don't have any problem to use it. The 3,000 workers, by then 7-8 months, we have built a rapport. We were have the tea, gutka, whatever, and we were learning problems and everything. So we gave on white paper saying we never tell you to replace and everything. From 2018 to today, we brought 20,000 dengue cases to less than 1,000, 18,000 malaria cases to less than 700, 800, all these 180, 120 lakes and everything. But 2019, we have registered a company because they were constantly saying, you've been doing work, stuff and everything. You don't get a pay. You can get a good technology, you can impact. Then we understood we're good at product. We are not good at taking out money from the government people and everything. And we were looking for alternative. That's where we got triggered with two problem statements. Because there's a train every day, if you search in Google, it's a cancer train. A train every day goes from Punjab to Rajasthan for treatment of cancer patient. 90% are farmers who are prone to this cancer. Then same year we were seeing there's a place called Yavatmal. People were doing some spraying activity and everything, wind blown, like 7-8 villages, it got impacted, a lot of spray rates happened. Then we said in the same time we were looking for alternative to stop this. Because what we realized is none of the government administrative municipalities want problem to be solved. They want more problem to happen is because they can make money. Because 1,000 crore of a budget is reduced to 150, 200 crores with lot of pilferages, stuff and everything. So we wanted to see more of a use case where we want to solve a problem. That's where we get into Agri. When we got into Agri, first we solved the problem of spray. Then we understood is I can't be everywhere, right? Like how tractors have come in India. There some person who's selling in rural area, someone is using for end person. It can be rental, it can be the use and everything. That's where we started building this entrepreneur model at a village level. That took us 5 years to establish that use case. Today, what we see is earlier the person who used to earn 10,000, 15,000 is earning 60 to 70,000 after all the expenditures. Then we have seen women who was earning 5,000 to 6,000 rupees per month. Now is started earning more than 50, 60,000 rupees. So that's where we pivoted. Solving a problem with the technology has not paid us in the first use case. Then we took the pivot and to Agri space. That has now, we are able to, we have around 600 such entrepreneurs who are earning. It can be a car driver, it can be an auto driver. A lot of people who was dropping to our employees, the auto driver went back and started earning 40, 50,000 now. So they see that kind of a transformation of people. They don't need to come to cities now. They're saying that we're happy in the village. We are earning more than what we were earning in cities. And the satisfaction they have is the expenditure is like 50% of what they were their expenditure in the city. So that's took us, okay, we should work in the rural areas, not in the cities. When we are working in cities, people are not ready to pay or not ready to appreciate the technology or the effort what you're doing it. That took us, so a small company like us, we could able to do. And we see you're going to listen more such stories. And like this, a lot of people have started. So that's way we see is the technology can solve a problem. We have seen internet. Like this, we're seeing drones now solving the problem. And also helpful for the end user or people who are adopting. That's the transformation in different stages what we have seen.
You know, that reminds me of otherwise a very negative take on startup mindset to a positive spin. You know, one of the negative takes that you typically hear is that if you got a hammer in your hand, everything looks like a nail. But Prem has demonstrated that a positive spin of that to say that, okay, I have this drone technology by pivoting to appropriate use cases, by again going back to the consumer centricity that Manisha talked about and using that technology. How do I solve different problems so long as I'm able to frame it right and then deploy it? The other interesting point he talked about in the earlier water case is the need to work on a larger ecosystem. One is you may have a product innovation, but unless you engage, especially if it's a fundamental innovation that is transformational, there's a need to work on the larger ecosystem also in terms of how do you align all the stakeholders to be able to translate something into action. So that's a very important point. But out of the innovation that we heard, if I have to ask both of you again to say that, is there a formula for innovation? Do you think that not all of us can innovate? And are those who are not innovating, how do we really inspire them to innovate? And the easy thing is to say that, is there a formula that or a method that you think this is what leads to innovation? Whether you're looking at new use cases quickly, or whether it is in technology or a product innovation or a process innovation that Manisha talked about in terms of how do you really re-engineer the whole approach of how do you scale. What could be that formula that all of us can walk away with today that we can be more innovative from tomorrow?
I can. So, all the technologies what we have built is an input what we get from the people, right? So, the first use case what we were saying is the common sense. I'm saying like, I'm waiting for someone to solve, and that wait took us 70 years. There's someone who is yet to come to solve this problem. What you and me have created, not keeping the surroundings clean or stuff and everything stuff. There we took a hat of saying that let me come forward and let me solve. Then it had a lot of challenges, what he said. Then when we came into agri space, first we solved a problem of the automation of the farmer, what he's looking at. Then a couple of farmers came and said, sir, bring your drone. I'll tell you, I need you to do something. We avoided for 2 months, 3 months. Then he was pestering, then we went, we took. Then he said, sir, can you fly your drone little lower? That took us a new use case called pollination. Then a couple of people started seeing and saying that, like, sir, we are having this problem. All these problem statements came from the people who saw from outside, came and educated us, saying that, sir, you just do, like, we do wet direct seeding. Like earlier, to do transplantation, you need 10 to 15 women working for a whole day to do transplanting. And thanks to cosmetics, I don't think nobody today will get into that field and do that transplanting manual. And also you don't have luxury of time, like because of weather changes and everything. So in the course, what we saw was the innovation, it might not come from our teams. It might not come from us. It is people around us who are going to leave us an idea and ask us to keep an effort towards it. And after that, it's us who we show the perseverance to solve. We might not solve also. But the effort towards is what is important, what I have seen in my last 6-7 years. Whether it will work, might not work. Because we have did a use case called delivery drone of medicines and vaccines in 2022 for 40-50 kilometers. It has not worked till today also. Nobody has paid us, but we did not stop it. We did a use case which a drone is going for an unknown place, doing something and coming back. So the smallest step is working towards it, rather depending something I have, or something I want to replicate, or something I already have, can I do same thing? Is only the step will make a lot of changes. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Manisha, your take.
First of all, I beg to differ with your one statement where you said not everybody can innovate. So I strongly object to that statement. I think everybody can innovate. The type of innovation, the quantum of innovation can differ, but everybody is gifted by God to think differently and think. It's not a centralized brain God has created like central data storage. So we all are given brain by God and we all can think and innovate. Now the important thing is how do we know what we can innovate? So for that, one important aspect is being connected with the customer, the end user. Not intermediate, not the distributor, not the dealer, but actually standing on the road and seeing how people are using the product. That will tell us how we can make it easy in some sense, or also know the customer behavior. That helps on a large scale. The second part which I think helps is also reading and meeting, like this fraternity of all businessmen. We come here, we interact, we understand what are the other people doing. That tells us what are the different things that whole world is doing, instead of staying in our own factory, own office, own cocoon, where we feel I'm doing the best. So, taking out time, even for the thinking time, for example, going, meeting people, reading about the latest research, so that we can do cross-pollination, we can learn from others, we can quickly see how others are doing something and adopt it, but adopt it at scale or adopt it with a difference. And that can lead to major disruption or the transformation or innovation, the second part. Third part is be ready to fail. Failure is success in progress, but we typically don't want to say that I failed or I tried this and it didn't work. But fail fast. Fail, but fail fast, and accept that it's okay to fail. Because that is one thing which really is a big deterrent for any kind of innovation, because innovation inherently means that we are experimenting, we are trying something new, and if we're trying something new, it may or may not work. So many of you have your own businesses. So even in your business, are you creating that culture where failing is fine? Because that is what will decide whether your employees or your partners are innovating or telling you that this can be done differently like this, and it will be appreciated. So very simple three things.
Yeah. So great. So we reinforce the consumer inciting and being there, observing and understanding the consumer usage context is one way that you look at it, quite clearly reinforced from both the examples. And we also saw, and Manisha explaining how the cross-fertilization or lateral inciting, cross-pollination, to really say that, okay, what worked somewhere, is there a way that can be transplanted, and then see how do you adapt it and transplant is another route that is there. But the way you will move forward is only when you attempt it, do it, learn from it, and then move on, the fail fast act. So let me lead to one last question. I think we are running out of time. So we'll now explore. So we saw that the need for impact, we saw how, what transformation means, we looked at how examples of innovation, and then what triggers innovation and what inspires innovation. But in order to get the impact, one challenge always is that we don't aspire big enough. Is there a barrier to aspire big? Or even where we aspire big, is there a barrier to innovate and execute innovation? So now let's look at the flip side or the barrier side of it, and try and see what may be the barriers, and then see as to how do we really deal with it once we understand the barriers, be it in terms of aspiration or in terms of innovation. Manisha, with you, what do you think are the potential barriers?
I think the barrier is, it's very easy to live in the comfort zone. And we all should ask ourselves that if we're living in comfort zone, everything is perfect, if we're not failed or we're not tried, attempted anything new, in that case, are we really successful, or we think that we are successful? And another thing is, we are talking about transformative growth. I feel in today's world where the technology is becoming primary and the geographies, sometimes the market geographies are getting blurred, it's not necessary that you have to operate in particular geography only. In such scenario, its transformation is not necessary only for growth, transformation is necessary for survival. And so it requires even more deep thinking, that are we really? And there are so many inspiring examples around us. Right from one fine morning, I saw on TV that Manyawar was saying that they will deliver ethnic wear in 10 minutes. I thought that was phenomenal transformation. I don't know how many they're selling, but really, it doesn't matter. But even the thought that, okay, somebody thought it's possible that they can do it. There are so many good examples which are very inspiring and we can learn from them. And ultimately, I truly believe that transformation, we can't afford to keep it in the back burner. We can't afford to say, I don't have time, because it's for survival.
So first the barriers is, so when something you're doing new, there 99.9% people are saying it won't work. And you won't visualize, because if someone has visualized, it doesn't mean that everyone will visualize the same. So we have seen from day one when we said we'll do something, the regulation was not right. And the example I know in 2017 when I'm carrying a drone of our own from Gachibowli to Hyderabad itself, the 4 times police people stopped and took me to the police station saying that this is unauthorized equipment, you can't allow it. And when I'm coming to exhibition of one of the HISA event itself in High-Tech City Hotel, security guard doesn't allow. He says keeps it this side, so this is not allowed inside, and keeps it with him for whole day. So there is I'm saying like it's, when we do something, we expect the environment or people or everything to respond positive. I think that expectation we should come out first, is what we have seen with things. Second is, when we have solved one, we thought it will go leaps and bounds. I'm saying like when Gates Foundation itself could not solve the problem of dengue malaria from last 30-40 years, we thought something we have solved and we will be replicating it to every part of the country and not only in India, Africa and everything. It did not happen. The other problem in the adoption, what we have seen. So there's a technology, but still the challenge where you, when you take it to the market, the adoption or response back, you're fighting with a system which is so powerful where it doesn't allow you to get through. So that's second what we have seen. Third we have seen is on the more of a, you have something, a technology, but there has a lot of dependencies of external. Example, when I'm doing something with a drone in Agri, chemical has to be certified, chemical has to be impactful, it has to effectively work, and then something, if anything impact happens, flora, fauna, biodiversity, land, water, there's a lot of kind of a replication where with one, the effort what you're trying to do, you're trying to see one to solve, but if something goes wrong, there are a lot of other things will get into the challenge. So these are kind of a things which we are constantly seeing those kind of a barriers. But what we saw was, let us work for one such barrier and work towards, and we thought in few hours and days we'll solve, but it took us years to solve one problem and to come out of it. But if you see, in last 7 years, hundreds of people have helped. What we understood is when you go and ask someone, we should be so shameless and be very quantifiable, very measurable kind of a ask. People are ready to help, is what we have seen. Because first, when I went to, we have Ajit Raknekar, rich DG, right? So when we first wanted to solve this problem and everything, he said, go to IICT. Dr. Chandrasekhar is there. There are a lot of scientists. The first R&D lab in the country is IICT. So when we went, we started doing these demos in different places, right? First we went, the director took us to the auditorium room and said, all these are scientists who have worked on the prediction of malaria, prediction of dengue, chikungunya, blah, blah, and other stuff. So he asked, how many scientists have killed mosquitoes till now? Nobody is there. Then he saw me, how many you have killed? Said, we are killing every day. Then he said, these are the people who are there in the same city from last 50 years plus. And the system doesn't, because the scientific pool is there still. But and we come from more of a action-oriented and looking for a more of scientific kind of a data stuff and everything. There's such gap. And after that, every problem what we have seen, right, when we reached out, people are ready to help, but it's whether it will helpful to us in that moment is a question mark still. So if you have that curiosity of taking help and asking specific to them, because when we ask generic, I don't think people are able to help us anything. That I have understood. It should be so specific so that they could able to, definitely everybody will keep effort. But if our ask is so generic, so that they are not able to understand how do they could support us. So today what we do, it's not our effort, it's efforts of some hundreds of people. It's specific your time which has supported us. So it has to be army of people supporting you. You don't notice and don't realize that. So once you realize, I think that's drive you forward is what we have seen. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. So we wrap up on that note. This is something again echoed from earlier session of Swamiji where he said, Sangachatvam. That collaboration is the root if one has to look at the innovation moving forward with that bias for action and delivering the transformational impact. Hopefully each of us have different takeaways from the various pieces that we are putting together through this panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to HMA and Shiv.
Thank you.
Sir, can we take Q&A for 2 minutes after this?
Yeah, it's up to you. I thought it was running beyond time and therefore.
Prem Kumar Vislawath sir, who arrived a little later, is the founder and chief innovator of Marut drones. He was here in the panel discussion, but I missed his intro, so I just wanted to brief it up. He's a Hyderabad-based drone technology solutions company established in 2019. He's alumnus of IIT Guwahati. Before venturing into the drone technology, Prem Kumar was involved in filmmaking, operating under Rasta Films and Rasta Studios. Under Prem Kumar's leadership, Marut Drones has expanded its focus to include agricultural applications, developing drones for pesticide spraying to protect farmers from harmful chemical exposures. So this was a very short and very impactful brief about Prem Kumar. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, we have Q&A for this session. The first question is from Parikshit Reddy. In the example of the cancer train and its correlation to protecting the farmer from chemicals using drones, have you also considered the impact of spraying on consumers? It's a question for you, sir, or the whole panel.
Can you define consumers? Yeah, can you define the consumers? So, any chemical, these are not we are generating the chemicals. These are companies, like all the companies. There's a center insecticide board, which quantifies the formulations and everything. So all the companies, all the pesticide companies, all the chemical companies, they go through certain kind of certification. They come with a formulation, and they whatever dilution. So in the drones, it is come with the ultra low formulations. They have created their SOPs. That's why you see a smaller bottle with SOPs. So what has happened here is what you were paying 100, 200 liters per acre. It has become 8 to 10 liters per acre. That more of water reduction has happened, and the active ingredients are same. So all this impact, SOPs, everything is published, and companies like ITC are effectively using it based on the formulations, SOPs, which is published by Government of India. And those SOPs have studied by universities, so doing for almost 2 years in healthcare or agri two scientific years they do trials. They come up with SOPs which are published in public domain. Just search drone spraying SOP in Google. You'll find documents which are there, which measured on the impact on flora fauna, impact on soil, impact on more of like this all already has been quantified and which is in public domain, which you can see. Then only Government of India, from Prime Minister to Chief Ministers to the end farmers, are excited towards this technology because the data has been proven. Thank you.
He said, take the second. Oh,
Yeah, we have one more question.
Okay, to foster innovation, what helps more? An incremental approach or an insightful out-of-the-box thinking? I would say foster innovation. Anything that you can do for the innovation is good enough. Anything, small, big, doesn't matter. Obviously, if it's out-of-box, then transformational growth that we are thinking about is, the probability is little more. But I'm just okay for any kind of innovation. As for my experience, innovation is what matters. Thinking differently, right brain thinking itself sometimes is very, very important. So let's say that innovation of any kinds, encourage it.
Thank you, ma'am. We have next two questions from G. Samrat. How can young leaders balance economic growth with sustainability and social responsibility? And what key values should young leaders uphold to drive meaningful transformation?
See, I could have done many odd businesses. Like I can start e-commerce site, or I can do even keeping 10 cabs into Ola, Uber. I can do a business, right? So I think what gonna face is from a morning when you wake up till you go back your home, you see a lot of problems everywhere. And we complain very easily. And we think we have complained, our job is done. But we are not thinking, okay, can I solve that one problem? What you see? That one thing which has sustainable, which has impact, which has all stuff, definitely will come into picture. But once you start thinking towards it, from a day one, you don't need to think about whether it is impacting and everything. If you start, our experience is, from a day one, we never know we are solving that problem. From day one, we never thought, like we have to be like social entrepreneur or sustainable and everything. We were trying to see that problem statement which we have taken up. Are we working towards it? Can it have a hardware like a drone, software like software, or any other means which is needed to solve that problem? What we were grouping people, and the first set of people also we brought was my co-founders. One was in Qualcomm. Said, like I said, you come for only few days. Let's solve this problem. Came 7 years back. Till now, I've never sent him back. So that's where it's majorly if you identify a problem and you are convinced towards that problem, and if it is something towards environment, something towards water, something towards it, automatically you'll have all the thing. And young is subjective. Today, a 50 years old can come forward, but the environment is very good today in India. At least people like my age can do something, and people can fund them, people can support them. So definitely and we are very young country yet. So definitely it is very favorable. And next question is also very important, is because when we started the first problem, the problem was not directly solved by us. Needs a lot of scientific kind of people who can support us, the academia, and they validate it. We were breeding mosquitoes for a certain time, So what we were doing is, in Gachibowli, road number 2, like every year in the month of September, October, you see a full page of first page. Dengue deaths, or chikungunya deaths, or malaria deaths. And every hospital you go, first he'll do, okay, it might be a dengue test, it can be chikungunya test, and he'll make you wait for a month with different tests and give you same dolo, what you say. So what we did at that time was, we've said, can we quantify, keep a sensor in one locality, trap a mosquito, can I tell whether in this line there's a dengue or chikungunya, and can I give this data to the hospitals, to the municipality, so that they could do the awareness activity specific. Like in road number 4 of high-tech city, you have chikungunya, not dengue. So that when he goes to hospital nearby also, he is specifically treating for more of that kind of locality, or he'll ask, doctor should ask which locality you're coming from, what is a prevalent kind of a disease there, and do this exercise. So that needle, so to breed a mosquito, I can't breed it in any household in city. The neighbor won't listen, like it might be a big, so we took the help of academia, we did all the exercise there, did a lot of scientific proof and everything. So any problem which we take, the first thing what I've seen is, if it is, you have to prove it in healthcare or agri, you need academia interaction more important. And they validate it so that if it is a regulatory kind of a compliance or regulation kind of a thing, so the academia validation becomes critical. That's why I'm saying, like, where we are working the space, from day one we took healthcare, like public health, then we took medical delivery, then Apollo Hospital, we worked with WEF, we worked with staff, they did clinical trials. So, or even from Agri also, we worked with Agri universities, testing them. Now, new use case we're doing it, farmers asking 100 questions, saying that, will it cost reduction or per acre reduction, a lot of stuff asked, right? We use universities as a testing kind of a method for almost 1 year, and then take it to the market. So that's where we see more of a industry academia partnership becomes very critical. Thank you.
What would you convey to students who tend to stay in their comfort zone but not transformation? I would just say that that's myopic. Being in the comfort zone is not going to take you anywhere, and you're just starting at the beginning of your productive life. Please understand that innovation, transformation, ability to learn new skill, ability to re-innovate yourself is what is going to see you through in the 30, 40, 50 years of productive life that you have ahead of you. So it's very important for the students especially to think differently and be ready for transformation. As they say that survival doesn't depend on whether you are the most strong or you are the most intelligent. When you look at the history, it will tell you that the species which has survived is the one which was ready to transform, which was ready to change, which was ready to adopt. So students should be ready for that, obviously. All the best.
I think we can end up the panel. Thank you so much, ma'am. With a very big round of applause, because they have answered 5 questions, very important and very much related to the student academia.